For the fourth day of Politimas, we will be talking about the first ever cabinet America had, which was the cabinet of our first president, George Washington. A presidential cabinet is not mandated by the Constitution or law. Today, there are 16 positions in the cabinet. Washington's cabinet had 4 positions. They were the Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of War, and an Attorney General. Washington created the cabinet to have balance in his decision-making from people all over the country. In his cabinet, he had someone from New England, someone from the Mid-Atlantic, and 2 Southerners. The Secretary of State position was first held by Thomas Jefferson, Secretary of Treasury was first held by Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of War was first held by Henry Knox, and Attorney General was first held by Edmund Randolph. Since there was no precedent for picking a cabinet or even having a cabinet, George Washington had to be very wise about what roles he wanted to give and who he wanted to give those roles to. When it came to Secretary of State, Washington wanted John Jay to be the Secretary of State. However, Jay wanted to be a part of the Supreme Court, so Washington appointed him to the Supreme Court as the Chief Justice, and then Washington picked the author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, as his pick for Secretary of State. When it came to the role of Secretary of Treasury, Washington knew that it would be an important role since they would be overseeing all of the economic policy made throughout his presidency. Washington wanted the founding father Robert Morris to be the Secretary of Treasury. He declined, and Morris recommended that Alexander Hamilton should have the role instead. After that recommendation, Washington went for it and picked Alexander Hamilton as the Secretary of Treasury. When it came to the role of Secretary of War and Attorney General, it was quite easy for Washington to pick who he wanted. Edmund Randolph was a supporter of George Washington, and for that, he was awarded the role of Attorney General. Henry Knox was already the Secretary of War under the Articles of Confederation, and because of that, Washington kept him as Secretary of War. And this was a cabinet throughout the first few years of Washington's presidency. Thomas Jefferson obviously left office in 1793 after having feuds with Hamilton, but that isn't the point of this video. The point of this video was to show you what process Washington went through to pick the first ever presidential cabinet. There was no country who had something like that before, and he did it without much advice. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was the 4th day of Politimas, and the series has been going on for a while, and it's not going to end now. We're still going. Every day throughout the month of December until Christmas, we will be releasing a brand new YouTube video. So stay tuned for tomorrow because there will be a new video. See you next time, baby.